subscribe, The Facts Drone.
Many basketball fans and analysts are surprised. They give feedbacks. USA women basketball didn't deserve this, and they know it. If you think the men's final was nail-biting stuff, the women's Olympic final was even crazier. And Team USA, barely by the skin of their teeth, scraped a controversial win over the French, who for the second time in less than 24 hours, suffered a heartbreaking loss at the hands of the US, and this time by mere. Millie Gay Williams for France thought she'd sent the game to overtime, but her foot was just on the line and the US won by 1 point. She was absolutely incredible in this game, made several clutch plays down the stretch, finished with 19 points, deserved to be on the winning team. But history isn't kind to runners-up, and the main thing that matters is Team USA. With this victory, just became the greatest dynasty in Olympic history. 8 consecutive gold medals, 61 games unbeaten in the Olympics. I'm just holding USA basketball to the golden standard it has set over the years. I've never denied that USA are the best basketball nation, but I'm only addressing the fact that the standard is slipping because anybody who watched this game knows how lucky USA got in this final. The US attempted 34 free throws to France 13. That's almost trouble. And the US needed every single one of those calls to win this game, because besides that, they were completely outplayed. The US turned over the ball 19 times, they made just 2 3-pointers all game, going 2 of 12, and they were all made by the same player. Although they won the gold, the US made it very difficult for themselves in this tournament. And the USA Basketball Committee needs to seriously reevaluate their priorities when selecting the USA team going forward, because the blatant favoritism in politics so nearly cost them in this tournament. And they realized that in real time, because all of that went out of the window when things got serious in the games that mattered before. I completely dismantle everything wrong with USA women's basketball, though we need to give some credit where it's due to the 2 ladies who saved the nation. A'ja Wilson's soon-to-be MVP of the WNBA proved why she's the world's best player. She averaged 18.7 points, 10.2 rebounds, and with 21 points in the final, was one of the few US players that actually turned up in that game. Brianna STT was amazing. Also, she was top 10 in scoring, averaging 16.3 points per game. She was efficient, shooting 57% from the field, and some USA players should consider donating their gold medals to them, because without them, Team USA don't win gold. Another one who should have played more was Jackie Young. She was out of favor, barely getting any minutes in the group stages, and despite struggling offensively in the final, going 1 of 7, her defense kept the US in the game. She had to the second highest plus-minus, and the final besides the next player who was unfairly treated. And that's the unsung hero Kahleah Copper. She was Team USA best wing player in this tournament, but because of the favoritism towards other players, she wasn't featured much in the early round. But when down double digits against France with a gold medal on the line, suddenly she was called upon, and she stepped up playing 22 minutes in the final, the most she played in the entire tournament. She made 6 or 6 fours, had 12 points, 5 rebounds, and made several massive plays in the fourth quarter. The fact that prior to the final, she played the fewest minutes of any player on this team, despite being one of the most important, proves what everybody has been saying. Team USA have become so dominant in ahead of the international competition over the years that it became a club of basically UConn, Mercury, Liberty, and Vegas Aces. Players. Of the 12 players selected, 10 of them have played for either of those free teams, with the exceptions being Jo Lloyd, who did play with the WNBA MVP Breanna Stewart for years, making Alessia Thomas the only one who doesn't have that connection with the other players. This isn't like the men's team. This was far from the best US team they could have taken, but they thought they could pull it off with just a bunch of friends together, and win anyway, which they did, but not in the way they would have liked to. Because they tried to force Diana Taurasi into the starting lineup, and it wasn't until the quarter fins that she was finally benched. She may have made history becoming the first Olympic player to win 6 gold medals, but she's the new definition of doing nothing in the group project and still getting an A. She was absolutely useless in the Olympics. She averaged 1 point per game for the tournament, and in 3 of the 5 games, she went scoreless 0 points. She shot 16% from the field over these 5 games, and at this point of her career, had no business being on Team USA. Never mind starting Chelsea Gray, who was supposed to be the point guard on this team. Clearly wasn't healthy. She was visibly limping up the court, could barely bring the ball up past half court without turning it over. And while she's been a great womb guard over the years, an injured player is an injured player. She barely played in the WNBA this season, was rushed back for the Olympics and try. They should have been near this USA team, and that was proven by her tournament performance. She averaged 1.6 points per game, shot 17% from the field, and in the final against France, she had 0 points in 13 minutes and was -8. Jewell Loyd, another guard who struggled with just 3.2 points per game, shot 23% from the field and outside of the group stage game against Germany. Scored 3 or less points in every game. She's another that shouldn't have been on the team to begin with. So that's 3 guards right there who played terribly in these Olympics, and the overall guard play from USA wasn't great at all. Kelsey Plum and Sabrina were efficient and way better than Nose Free, and Sabrina, who's supposed to be the scoring guard, had 0 points in the final against France and had almost as many turnovers as she had assists. But I can't entirely blame her for this performance, because Sabrina didn't play a single minute in that game towards the end of the third quarter, and then played 9 straight minutes. How can you expect a shooter to come into the game cold, having not shot since the pre-game warm-ups, and expect her to be a real difference maker? It was an absolute shambles. Cheryl Reeves was running 2 shoot first 2 guards. At the point, there was no point guard play for this team, and that's the reason why they made more free throws than field goals in this game. Credit where credit is due. Kelsey Plum contributed. When it mattered, she had 12 for Team USA in the gold medal game, but half of her points came at the line. So everybody who believed Caitlin Clark should have been on this USA team was proven absolutely right. She leads the WNBA in assists. She averaged 14.6 assists per game in the month of July when looking at the assist leaders in these Olympics. Chelsea Gray was the only USA player in the top 10, ranking 8. Despite them averaging the most points in this tournament, the player who averaged the second most assists for the US was Alyssa Thomas. She's not even a guard. There's absolutely no excuse for the other guards that were chosen, playing alongside the best players in the tournament to average such few assists. When things got serious down the stretch, the US needed somebody to get A'ja Wilson the ball, and they were unable to do that. 19 turnovers to 13 assists is just unacceptable. And the commentators even said in this game exactly what the US were lacking. There was no floor general, no quintessential point guard, no player to get the ball to the stars. Nobody wanted to take control. There was no on-court coach organizing the offense and creating high-percentage looks. It really was just stagnant offense, and if it wasn't for A'ja Wilson making big plays, they were entirely reliant on the refs, bailing them out and giving them easy ones at the line, which fortunately for the US, they had the friendly whistle all night. What Team USA also struggled with in this tournament was 3-point shooting. There was only one Team USA player in the top 25 for 3-point percentage, and that was Kaya Copper. She made just 6-old tournament, and she barely even played. USA ranked 7th in 3-point percentage. And there's still people who will say the US, who struggled with playmaking and free-pointers, couldn't have used a generational passer and generational shooter. Considering how much the US struggled with guard scoring in this tournament, the Arik Ogunbowale snob looks worse and worse every day. There is absolutely no reason Arik shouldn't have been on this team. She is better than any of the USA guards. She proved it in the All-Star game, scoring a record 34 points against this USA team. She's been the best scoring guard for years now. She's having one of the best seasons of her WNBA career, averaging 26.6 points per game. She could have helped with the assist numbers too, as she's averaging a career high 5 in the W. She would have brought some much-needed defense too, as she leads the WNBA in steals pro game with over 3. The fact that she attended all the tryouts, training camps, and wasn't selected highlights how corrupt USA basketball are when it comes to selecting this team. And Nneka Ogwumike, despite being an MVP of the WNBA, has been snubbed time and time again in her MVP season in 2016. She wasn't picked. Breanna Stewart, who was in college, was picked instead, which makes the Caitlin Clark snob even more hypocritical. Because if you can justify sobbing an MVP for a college player in the past, how can't you do the same? This go around, but the neck disrespect continues. She wasn't chosen for the Tokyo Olympics either, and it got so bad that she made a formal request to FIBA to be eligible to play for Nigeria instead. Let's not pretend that Team USA couldn't have done with Angel Reese. Also, for a team that was old, slow, and injured, having hurt energy and motor at the forward positions for the second unit would have been a real difference maker. And considering the fact as a rookie, she's already the best rebounder, the WNBA. I guarantee you, in a game where USA didn't have much going and were throwing up Breck's whole game, Angel Reese would have got a bunch of second chance points on the offensive glass, and the rebounding stats from this game would have been a lot more one-sided in USA favor. The fact that the WNBA All-Stars actually defeated the USA team for a second consecutive year proves that this isn't a case of selecting the best players. It's about who's in the club and who isn't. Arique, Nneka, Caitlin, and Reese are looking in from the outside, and it remains to be seen how the USA Basketball Committee will respond to what happened in Paris, because while they won, this was too close for comfort. Considering the talent Team USA have, which is supposed to be the women's equivalent of the dream team with champions, MVP, and stars all over the court, it took sheer luck to beat a French team with just 3 WNBA players on the entire roster, 0 All-Stars, and most only players who play full-time in Europe. As women's basketball continues to evolve, the standard across the world will improve. Just like we see in the men's, USA Basketball will either adapt with the times and actually select the deserving players, or they'll eventually pay the ultimate price and the dynasty will end. As it so nearly did this year, of course, because they won the gold, they'll be able to justify every decision they made. But people who watch the games and follow the WNBA know what really happened here, because the difference between glory and historic humiliation was a literal toe. And we didn't confidently say that the Team WNBA Alters would have won every game in these Olympics if you were to add Breanna and A'ja Wilson to that team. This wouldn't be a conversation right now, and we'd have actually seen the US win in the dominant, convincing fashion that they always should. But can you imagine the backlash had France pulled it off? We were so close to a national meltdown because Caitlin Clark being excluded was already the big story in basketball over these last few months, and the outrage would have been louder than ever had the US came home with silver, especially considering how Dawn Staley basically admitted they made a mistake and she should have been on the team.
Caitlin is just a rookie in the WNBA. Wasn't playing bad, but wasn't playing like she's playing now. If we had to do it all over again, the way that she's playing, she would be in really high consideration of making the team.
How about head coach Shirley Reeves giving her all the big talk in the lead-up saying all of this?
There's going to be a lot of people cheering for that other side. I mean,
I don't give 2 shits.
Well, I bet she gave 2. You know what's when Gabby Williams had the ball in her hands, done the stretch. Hopefully this performance gets her picked up by a WNBA team, but Cheryl Reeve was out-coached in this game. Whatever game plan she had was non-existent, and although they won, it certainly wasn't because of her. And while it's harsh firing a coach who just won a gold medal, like Wise with the criticism to coach Steve Kerr, it was the stars that brought the gold home, not the system, and there are definitely better candidates out there to lead the USA women's basketball team than Cheryl Reeve. And while USA fans should celebrate this historic achievement and enjoy winning this gold, they should also be incredibly concerned for the future of USA women's basketball as currently constructed. Because this wasn't a good representation of what USA basketball is, and nor was it an accurate reiteration of what this program is supposed to be all about. It's more than just winning. It's a showcase of the best of the best. And while we got that in the men's side, we didn't get that from the women in this year's Olympics, because so many of the best were sat home. And truthfully, there's a lot of players on that team that have a gold med who weren't actually good enough to win the gold. They owe that A'ja Wilson and Breanna Stewart.
Again on France's home turf.